Welcome back everyone, Happy New Year. This will be my full Star Wars Skeleton Crew Episode 6 video. Did not think we'd be getting a new episode on New Year's Eve, but thankfully they did drop it. There's a bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. Remember, there's only 2 episodes left, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. When we get a little closer to the actual finale, I'll talk about what's happening with the future of Star Wars, because like the next big Star Wars series after this will get episodes 4 this year. Technically, as you're watching this video, it is technically 2025. So later this year, we will be getting the Star Wars Andor episodes, which sound like they're going to be peak. But this week's episode was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who you probably remember has directed pretty much all the Mandoverse shows so far. She's done episodes of The Mandalorian, she's done episodes of Ahsoka, and now she's done an episode of this. And if it wasn't clear, because we haven't had any real big crossovers like Book of Boba Fett style, where Mando and Grogu literally take over an episode with Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka. Skeleton Crew is meant to be connected to the Mandoverse. It takes place during the same part of the timeline, but because of the whole plot with AT-ATN being hidden from the rest of the galaxy, the whole Jewels of the Old Republic storyline, the whole treasure of AT-ATN, it makes sense that Mando, Grogu, Luke Skywalker, anybody else from the Mandoverse doesn't know that AT-ATN exists. That'll probably change eventually. They'll find some way of connecting this with the Mandoverse of shows, and maybe some of these characters, like Jude Law, probably might show up in the Mando movies. With the way things are looking at Lucasfilm and the way they're plotting the future of the movies out, it doesn't seem like he's going to be in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, because that's meant to be them dipping their toes back in theatrical releases. And originally, it was just meant to be The Mandalorian Season 4, and Jon Favreau turned his scripts for that into a 2+ hour movie. And I don't think that Jude Law was meant to be in The Mandalorian Season 4 to begin with. But we'll probably get some more clues about that as we get closer to the finale of Skeleton Crew. The actual episode title was Zero Friends Again, a reference to KB in the episode when she explains her backstory, getting the implants, the cybernetic implants, having 0 friends until Fern came along, nobody wanted to be her friend after she got into her accident. Worried in the episode that might happen to her again, she'll lose all of her friends. But it being a huge opportunity for Wim to have a big bonding experience with her and make friends with her in a way that he hadn't before, they hadn't really had a lot of scenes together with just the 2 of them. Overall, it felt like a really brisk episode, but I think that's because it wasn't super Easter egg heavy or super lore heavy like last week's episode. The actual opening scene with the kids flying down the chute from the trapdoor is meant to be a Goonies reference, with all the kids flying down through One-Eyed Willie's treasure room. Only instead of being dumped in water, they get dumped out the back of the mountain. There are also a bunch of chutes here too, so you have to imagine there are probably trapdoors all over his compound. If it wasn't clear though, the tubes themselves are waste disposal tubes that trapdoors are just connected to. All these tubes aren't just there for the purposes of being trapdoors. They pay off the whole bit with KB being worried about going into the steam tunnels because her cybernetic implants were going to short out. We find out what happens when that goes down. Because her implants are so connected to her higher brain functions, the more that they malfunction, the more she just literally shuts down, her body literally shuts down. So basically they have to find a way to reset her to repair her like you would a droid. Fern also says that this happens sometimes, presumably when they're playing rough or when they fall off their speeder bike. They also explain this later when KB starts talking about how she can't keep up the same way, she still has physical disabilities, even though her mental functions are enhanced by all the cybernetic implants. In a big part of her life, as she got to know Fern, became friends with her, Fern became her only friend, she started to go with her and do all these things that she was worried about doing, knowing that it would actually hurt her implants, but still doing them because she was worried that she would lose her only friend. So when Fern says that her implants break down like this every once in a while all the time, it's probably because they're doing stuff like that. You have to imagine them riding around on the speeder bike through traffic like this all the time. Of course, they're gonna probably get in a couple accidents every once in a while. Then they have probably some of the funniest cut-tos in the episode, just throughout the entire episode in general. It was a very funny episode. Jude Law exits the landing platform, laughing maniacally, covered in treasure, huge victory for him, as he sees the staff waiting for him to pop out, what the hell's going on here? Love the way he just sashays over to them and asks for checkout, he just meant for this to happen. Just as the pirates show up, revealing that Space Urkel is alive, as is Pocket, and it seems like his acid only took out a couple of them. Silvo makes a gag about Space Urkel's one working eye, probably the wrong move. We don't see Pocket later in the episode, so she might have actually left the series at this point. She takes her bounty from Brutus and then probably takes off. And even though he's covered head to toe in treasure, they're very careful that the camera picks up that one of the pirates is taking his lightsaber off of him. I know there's been a lot of questions about this lightsaber too. Where did it come from? What era of the Star Wars timeline is it from? Just because so much of the series is harking on Old Republic, like older than High Republic, I'm also assuming that the lightsaber is also from the Old Republic era. So at least right now, without more evidence, without the Star Wars people like literally coming from behind the scenes and saying, no, this is who it belongs to, I think it's meant to belong to somebody new that we don't know, like not a canon character from previous Star Wars stuff. But I think them taking the lightsaber off of him is meant to remind you of last week's episode when the hotel did the exact same thing with the knife and he just force yanked it back. We will probably see him do something similar in either next week's episode or the finale, like he will yoink the lightsaber back and probably use it to slice up a whole bunch of people. Also love the follow-up joke to this too, with SN-33 poking his head out, also covered in treasure, but is instantly taken out by their blaster. And even though it wasn't clear later in the episode, the pirates would have taken SN-33 with them because that's how Jude Law knows how to get to AT-ATN, because the coordinates are stored in SN-33's memory. You remember that the kids didn't have SN-33 with them on the ship when they got back on the ship. Just as they're about to take him back to Brutus, the New Republic X-Wings from a couple episodes ago show up again. These are meant to be the same ones that we saw on Kim's Moon, like that's why the little kids go crazy, like hey, those are the same X-Wings. They shoot down one of the pirate ships, with the kids also realizing that the X-Wings are actually the good guys, even though they don't really know about the concept of the New Republic. But it's meant to pay off the idea that Jude Law lied to them, telling them that they were the bad guys to get them to help him escape. They set up the whole drama with Fern and KB to give the group an excuse to split off so that you can have those different scenes with the two of the groups together. The way that she explains it later though, the whole reason why KB got upset with Fern is because she was worried that her cybernetic implants would completely shut down mid-climb up the mountain and she would actually fall and die. When she says, I can't do all the things that you can do, like on a physical level, they also try to use the Neil storyline too. Like, poor little Neil with his stubby little elephant legs can't quite keep up. Basically the same situation for him. Then the episode is calling all these little creatures trash crabs that actually speak, like they were literally speaking the word follow, 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 kind of like a parakeet can speak. And the way they make it seem is they're just organic crabs that are using the trash as their shells, and they're meant to be the children of this massive, massive trash crab. They split the group with KB and Wim going off with the trash crabs, and Fern and Neil trying to climb the mountain. Also kind of felt like Neil went with Fern just because he wanted to be a good friend. Like, he definitely did not want to climb the mountain, but he's like, I don't want to leave Fern by herself, so I'll go too. Good old Neil, probably one of the best friends of any of the group to anybody else. Back at the pirate base, Brutus holds that trial for Silvo that he was gonna have before Silvo escaped, pronouncing him guilty, sentencing to death. But then because they invoked the pirate code, which is like a big thing on the series, like they're making a big deal about the rules of the pirate code. That was the whole way that Jude Law gained captainship of the Onyx Cinder from Fern. He uses that to basically spare his life temporarily enough so that he can actually buy more time by baiting them with the idea of the treasure of AT-ATN, hoping that that will save his life. Like, I will give you so much more treasure than you'll ever be able to spend in your entire life if you do not shoot me at the airlock. He sings the pirate's song about Tac Renaud, and the song is basically about his final days and looking for AT-ATN, like the song itself mentions AT-ATN. That winds up being successful, so now the pirates, with Jude Law, are going to AT-ATN, probably going to arrive around the same time that the kids also arrive there, sort of giving you an idea for what the stakes are going to be in the last two episodes. The other thing too that I'm expecting, because they made such a big deal about the Pirates Code throughout many different episodes this season so far, is that there'll be some twist with the Pirate Code in the finale too. Either a funny twist or like a big WTF kind of twist. Maybe Fern will also challenge Jude Law per the Pirate Code and become the captain of the ship again. Then the whole scene of them bonding while fixing KB's visor was amazing. Like, great scenes between all the kids this episode. Her visor completely shorts out, and basically Wim has to fix it with her help, obviously, because he has no idea what he's doing. But they use it to both bring them closer together, like they're much better friends by the end of this, and they also use it as an opportunity to tell you more about KB's backstory and what her deal with the implants is. Like, she got into an accident when she was younger and got them as prosthetics, essentially. But the way they make it seem is that she had some sort of brain injury, so it's more of a mental prosthetic. Her mental capacity, her ability to memorize, recall things is greatly enhanced, but the way she explains that she still has severe physical limitations, like there is a disability there. She also explains that she needs regular maintenance on the parts, like the prosthetics, otherwise they will start to get buggy and her body will start to shut down. Then the way they play this off, he's sort of like her knight in shining armor, her Jedi Knight in shining armor. She compliments him too at the end of this, like, thank you, Jedi Knight. And you can just see him get so proud, like he grows 10 feet tall. He's going to be living off that compliment for the rest of this year. But the whole scene is meant to basically bring them closer together, like bring the group closer together, even though it's just the two of them. Then they have the funny reveal with the trash crabs and Wim being pissed off at himself for never being able to tell who's bad and who's good. The giant trash crab seems like it's the queen of the trash crabs, like the mother of all these smaller ones, and all I could think of was the giant crab from Moana, finding out that they're basically meant to be tonight's dinner. Then on the other team, like I said, poor Neil's stubby little elephant legs aren't doing him any help on the climb up the mountain, but they're able to jump to the ship as it's in the middle of getting junked, which is also paying off the joke from last week's episode when they first showed up at the hotel, and the help made that brief reference about getting waste removal because the ship looked like a piece of junk. Turns out they were just going to throw it in the trash pile. Then this whole trash compactor scene isn't meant to be exactly like the one from A New Hope, but it feels like they were going for some of that energy too, with the kids saving themselves at the last possible second. KB telling Neil to fly the ship is also meant to be a callback to the time Jude Law told him to do it. This is basically like a replay of the scene from a couple episodes ago on Kim's Moon. All the different kids taking different positions, flying the ship, proving that they are just as capable operating the ship by themselves. I think this is also meant to pay off the earlier reference to something SN33 said when they were at the pirate base, when he asked the kids, why can't kids also be pirates? And turns out, like, this is them proving that kids can also be pirates and fly the ship. Then they finally bring back the whole bit about Chekhov's button that they should never press, like the whole demolition sequencer. But the only thing that I wasn't expecting here is that it's actually Fern to press the button, not Wim, because Wim's whole thing is that he can't not press buttons. And they basically reveal that it just separates the larger ship from the smaller vessel, sort of like a Star Trek Next Generation situation where the saucer section could separate from the battle bridge and like the main body of the ship. So now they're just flying the main body of the ship, which actually looks way fresher, way cleaner than the actual original ship. Meaning that in the future, if it isn't destroyed the next 2 episodes, this smaller ship could be like their permanent ship that they fly around on, assuming Jude Law doesn't take it at the end of the series. We can get into that when we get closer to the finale because I'm not totally sure exactly how they're going to end the series because the kids are still really young. So it's not like their parents are going to be like, you know what, go ahead and quit school. Like, who needs school? Just go off and be pirates for the rest of your lives. They're basically all like 12 years old. So like their parents are going to let them run off forever. And Jude Law doesn't feel like he's going to want to stay on the planet forever either. Like he'll stay for like a little while as a guest to them after he probably helps save their lives. But then eventually he'll want to leave. This kind of gets into what they're going to do with like a season 2 of the show if they do a season 2, because when they made the series, they weren't planning on doing multiple seasons, but the way that Jon Watts and the other producers talked about it, now they are actively talking about developing a season 2. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen, it just means they're talking about it, and they would have to do a time jump, the way that Jon Watts explained it, just because by the time they would get that out, the kids would look like 2 feet taller, that's how fast they're growing. This is like the Stranger Things problem, and the Stranger Things show was actually way better in the earlier seasons when the kids were younger about getting seasons out way faster. You watch them do season 2 of this show, and Neil and Wim come back with 5 o'clock shadows. But the big idea is that episode 7 next week, both the kids and Jude Law with the pirates also probably arriving back on At-Aden around the same time, with the kids having to get the parents' help to deal with the pirates, and at least Jude Law at first too, because he also very much wants the treasure for himself. And even though they made such a big deal about the security droids on the planet being so fearsome, like everybody on the planet is terrified of the security droids, they actually might use that for another joke where the pirates use their weapons to make super quick work, like steamroll the security droids like it's no big deal. Wouldn't it feel like the typical joke that this series would go for, where they hype the security droids up so much all season only for them to be super weak in reality? There's also the twist behind the mysterious supervisor and whether or not it's an actual person who exists. Just because there's so many theories about what could be going on there, I'm hoping they reveal the answer by the end of episode 7. My early theory for episode 8, the finale, is probably when Jude Law turns the corner and saves the kid from the pirates after things get real bad for them, and winds up ultimately redeeming himself a little bit, but still being a relatively terrible person. You have to imagine he's been on kind of a Han Solo type of arc, but he's been an even bigger dirtbag than Han Solo was when A New Hope came along. But I think his whole arc in this series is that ultimately he will save their lives by the end of the series. Everybody post all your predictions in the comments below, and my full episode 7 video will post next week after they release it. This is actually a pretty short video. I wasn't expecting to make something this short, but I think it's the idea there's just not a ton of Easter eggs or references in the background. Usually that's where videos get super long, when you have just like a bunch of explainers for like a bunch of really ancient lore. Like I said, there's a bunch of big stuff coming up. We should also be getting a new Daredevil Born Again trailer really soon, so I'll try to do videos for everything as it comes along. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everybody click here for that new Skeleton Crew episode. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here to learn about Jason Momoa in the new Superman movie coming back to the DCU. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.